Photon fizz, please.
Sure, bub. Whatever you want. Beep, 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 beep. So it's been about 2 weeks, let's just give or take. Time is kind of an amorphous thing in this universe. So let's just say it's been a couple weeks since your ordeal, um, your interrogation. Let's say your questioning at the hands of Imperial authorities. Um, Not much has transpired over those past 2 weeks, other than just kind of general, I guess, sorts of things. But about, let's say, a week and a half into it, while you guys are still kind of recuperating, Clayson will stop by the bar. And you guys have pretty much spent most of your time down in the bowels of the bar, not wanting to really come up while you were still all bruised and beaten, and come out amongst the bar, which has actually been doing pretty well, believe it or not. It's grown like kind of a steady patronage by the locals, and people seem to like it. It's actually not a dive bar anymore, if that makes sense. It's been cleaned up well enough. It's well staffed, and it's doing pretty well for the sector that it's in. It's become something of a haven for lots of the locals. But Clayson will stop by, and part of that might be that because security
Oh, could
people.
I butt in 1 second?
Yep.
I want to recruit those two would-be slaves to work in the bar that we had originally rescued from Blasso's.
Oh, the three of
Because those
them. There
guys,
were
yeah,
three of
yeah, oh, that's yeah, of course,
them.
three. That's what I said, three.
Yeah.
Because they just sort of been like, I imagine that they've kind of just been laying low this time, and I
Yeah.
think it's good to sort of bring them in, try and turn them into rebel operatives, essentially.
I
I
guess
don't know.
it becomes more a matter of how kind of open you want to be with them regarding what's going on in the bar. You could probably get them jobs, and just have them
Yeah,
work
I just wanted
and
to,
see how
I
that
think that
goes.
they'd be loyal workers. I don't want to like tell them
Yeah.
everything that's going on.
Right. Yeah. 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 And that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. Um, the staff is you're still not 100% sure who's rebel operatives and not that come through the bar.
Hmm.
If they don't come downstairs to you guys, then you don't even know, for the most
Okay.
part. So some of the workers upstairs might be and might not be. You haven't really been sworn in to know all the secret handshakes and things yet. You're still kind of probationary officers at this point. Um, so um, as I was saying, the bar has been doing fairly well. Um, it seems to be something of a haven for local security, oddly enough. So it's fairly safe. It's considered fairly safe by the locals because there's a lot of security guild people that tend to patronize the place. It's almost become a cop bar in a way. So that always looks good to people. It tends to brighten the neighborhood up when there's a lot of security around, which there wasn't before, if you recall. There wasn't a ton of security in the area. So that's made things a little bit brighter there. So week and a half or so, Clayson will stop by and visit you guys to check on your current status. And he has basically told you during his visit, he's given you a couple things. He highly suggests that you guys keep a very low profile here in the near future to avoid the gaze of the Imperials. And you guys really have. You've been healing up and licking your wounds a little bit, so you haven't um, strayed too far outside the bar. But if you do, you'll definitely notice an increased presence of Imperials on the station itself. And he was essentially saying, you guys are recognizable to at least some of these people now. So you should probably not be doing anything strange just in case somebody recognizes you. He doesn't go into details about like what deals were made or how you guys were freed, how you guys were transferred to him, that sort of thing. So he's kind of keeping that tight-lipped. But all he does say is he had to pull a ton of strings in order to get that done. And so now, because of that, because of those actions, and uh, you guys basically going free, he's under heavy suspicion too. So he's having to keep a pretty low profile when it comes to any strange shenanigans that are going on.
He really stuck his neck out for us.
Yeah. So he basically took a big step. You while you're kind of licking your wounds, you of course watch the local news, the equivalent of local news or station and that sort of thing. The attack on the Strip Screw, the nightclub that you guys went to, definitely was covered. When you have a gigantic Imperial presence suddenly show up at a bar and people running out screaming and that sort of thing, tends to make for good news. It was ultimately put down to just inner gang conflict. It was kind of an unwritten, kind of spoken thing that it was a hangout for melted skulls, and so an attack on the place wasn't seen as surprising or overly shocking. So the whole thing was kind of written off as a strange, as a gang conflict between the Melted Skulls and some other gang that was not given a name. And
Right.
you guys were written off as hired thugs sent in to do to kind of ruin their business interests. And as I was saying, the brand is known to have criminal ties, and he was the one running the bar, that sort of thing. And Clayson's kind of filling you in on some of these details, and you picked up some of it through the media as well. J-Rod was reassigned off station following his interrogation. And Clayson said that he's been instructed to disappear until recalled. He became way too visible for
totally goofed on that mission.
Yeah, he became way too visible for a undercover operative, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm just reading through my stuff, so I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit. They have converted the bottom level where you guys are at into a kind of small operations center and information hub. It's staffed around the clock with people that you've never met before. It's kind of comings and goings. They're faceless NPCs as far as you guys are concerned for this game. But it's not hundreds of them. It's a 2 or 3 of them in there at any given time. And they just staff it. It's like I said, it's more of an information hub. It's not, whirring computers and, anything like that. More just kind of central hub for collecting data in the area. They did wall off a section, and I don't have the map in front of me. Let me see if I can dig up the map here.
Do you want me to resend it to you?
Oh, I'm just going to dig it. It should be in the folder, right?
Yes.
Dig it up in here. I didn't even think to open it when I was here. Let's see. Age rebellion. Anybody listening to this is like, they have a folder?
Oh, we have a folder.
Many folders. Okay, so what they've done is they have walled it off from bedroom 3 back. So they've run a wall down that, if that makes sense, where the edge of bedroom 3 and bedroom 4 are at.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're echoing on me. So they run a wall across that hallway to wall that off. It has a door in it, and it's a secure door. So that's where you guys can run to if you need to. Like if you just want to get away, that's 3 rooms for you guys to kind of call your own. If you aren't downstairs. So like I said, they set that aside. They did that little bit of construction while you guys were licking your wounds. You probably were in there kind of watching, but not really doing too much to it. But they set that aside just to change the bar around a little bit. But they wanted to keep the section open still to provide at least a few rooms to customers. Otherwise, it would look a little odd.
So is bedroom 1, 2, and 3 then like almost exclusively ours, respectively?
Yeah, it pretty much is your guys' section. Kind of a fallback space. It's not permanent, so don't start throwing posters up on the wall. But
darn it.
But as far as you guys are concerned, it is yours. I mean, you guys kind of not own the safe house, but you in a lot of ways run it. You're the most high profile, well known ones there. Although you're not necessarily the highest ranked. People are like, oh yeah, this is their place. This is where they're the kind of ground troops that are leaving and coming back. So we need to make sure they have a place that they can rest and recuperate and do what they need to.
Nice.
So
that sounds like respect. That's so cool.
Hey, well, you guys got to rank 1. Ding. Ding! Imagine if you get like to another rank.
I can't even fathom what that would be like.
Okay, so like I said, there's still several rooms available. Obviously, you've seen the map. But those you've noticed typically are housing other agents disguised as customers, but they only tend to stay for a day or so. And you get the feeling that the rooms are for rent, quote unquote, but almost always rented, if that makes sense. So you see people coming and going. They don't really talk to you guys at all. In fact, they rarely spend a lot of time there. It's more just they come in, they disappear for a day, and then they come back or they leave, sort of thing. So it very much like a safe house. They're stopping by to who knows what's going on in a way in those rooms. They could be meeting with people. They could be resupplying. You just don't know. But you've learned not to ask questions yet. You're just kind of let this stuff happen. He will. This is kind of the stuff you've learned over the first couple weeks. He will come back later towards the end of it, right? Basically, where we're at now. So at the 2-week mark, he'll come back a few days later and see that you guys are well equipped and you guys look like you're itching to get back on the street. So he'll come back and he'll explain a little bit closer of what's going on, get you guys up to speed on the recent developments of what's happened. The brand was questioned and released as an unfortunate victim of the assault, but he refused to press charges. So that's why you guys were let go, because he refused to press any charges in this, probably because he also had illegal activity going in there and he didn't want to draw too many eyes to it. The Strip Screw, the nightclub, is temporarily closed for repairs. That's what anybody who asks, that's what's going on. And that was not done by him. It was done by whoever owns it. Has temporarily closed it for repairs. The word on the street, quote unquote, is that the brand wants revenge and has started hunting for the group that attacked. And Clayson says you guys should probably be really cautious moving around because just because they're melted skulls, a lot of them have tattoos and things doesn't mean they all do. There are those who swim in the same circle as the melted skulls, or might just be hired thugs.
Is the brand Nichols?
He was the guy that was it Scarface? He was the Scarface guy.
Okay. Am I crazy in thinking that didn't Kurt?
Oh, that's right. Y'all killed him.
Shoot him?
Yeah.
Killed him.
I was wondering if you'd
All
somehow
right,
revived him.
All right, so scratch. All right, so let's go ahead and scratch all of tonight's episode because I literally did not remember that. So that's 90% of what was going to happen tonight. So sorry, guys. So okay, let's jump ahead to something I was totally not planning to do. I forgot. I mean, it's been 3 weeks of hell for me, so I could not.
Hey,
wait.
No, you could say that this was just.
He could have been just critically injured.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately,
it works that way for us.
Yeah, it worked that way.
Roll a destiny dice.
It worked that way for you guys. Okay, so let me skip ahead here to the bottom 3 lines of my thing here. No, there's more here. I'm just picking on you guys. It's just not as exciting as all that stuff. So I'll jump ahead to the non-cool stuff. The unexplained disappearances have shown a marked decrease since the Great House attack. That's something that he mentions, that the reports of the disappearances have kind of not dried up completely, but they're nowhere near to the level that they were right around the Great House attack. So he can't point directly to your actions for that, but it is what it is. Search and rescue at the large explosion site. This is sort of the random news you guys are finding, but he has a little bit better detail on it. Stuff that the news doesn't know, of course. Final death toll, according to the news, was somewhere just shy of 12,000. And the station, this was the major station, I cannot remember the name, itself is basically a total loss. So the entire station was shut down. And that's put a humongous kind of wrench in the transportation of stuff on and off the primary planet, off the capital planet, because that was the major spaceport. That was the big one. And it all but destroyed the major port, like the major hub of it for people, and goods. Uh, as far as the news is concerned, the authorities are still sifting through the debris for specific evidence. However, Clayson can tell you that what they could find, or at least what he's being told by people he knows, is that an inbound train, monorail, maglev, whatever they like to use in the Star Wars universe, that was carrying, it was a freight train carrying highly processed fuel storage containers. I wrote in parentheses, think lithium ion batteries. So very, very highly volatile storage of fuel, basically. Derailed as it came into the station. The resulting wreck scattered the quote batteries all over the station, or at least over that portion of the station. At least one of these ruptured and caused a chain reaction that ran back to the train itself. Of course, hitting the massive store that was the train. So this train was, loaded with car after car of these, which resulted in kind of a domino effect running down the length of this station. And of course, that all but destroyed everything that was there. So that was the massive explosions that people had seen and felt and heard, was this train. They still can't say how it derailed, how it was kind of brought to do what it did, but it seemed a little too perfect, if that makes sense. Like it's not the type of thing they would have expected. Train derailments are incredibly rare, probably very, very rare in the Star Wars universe. So this sort of thing had really never been planned for. There's no news at all about the other sites on I think it's Malibor 3. The other sites on Malibor 3, there's no news at all about the other two sites that were hit. The Great Houses have been in something of an uproar since Fiend's announcement, his agreement, as it was, to work with the Imperials. So the Great Houses have all been in pretty big uproar. I know I mentioned it earlier that there was kind of a growing call for a re-election sort of thing, but it's getting louder, of course. The Fiends Guild, which I believe I've got it here
Security
somewhere.
Guild?
No, that's not Fiend. Fiend is the Loaders Guild father. His guild is pretty much on board, as far as you can tell. There's obviously a few people who don't agree with it, but for the most part, his guild is on board with the decision. I mean, he's the father of the Loaders Guild, so it would not behoove him to go against it too much. The Security Guild is obviously very much against it. And if you guys remember, no, it's been a long time, but let me find my crazy chart over here.
Get the flowchart out.
Yes, we're getting the flowchart out now. If you guys recall, the Loaders Guild is, for all intents and purposes, in control of the Transport and Storage Guilds now, because they both lost their parents, and it's still only been around a month or so since that happened. So nothing has really changed or to put somebody new, like truly in power. They have figureheads, but no one really that's kind of taken charge of each of those guilds. So Fiend is basically the acting guild father for those three guilds. The Security Guild took over the tech and the electricians guild. So technically, Kurt works underneath I guess one of those two. I can't remember which one he had decided, and thus works under the Security Guild. So the Security Guild and its kind of children guilds now are not on board with the decision by Fiend. So let's see, read something right here. Okay, so the most recent kind of intrusion by the Empire, there's a lot of people that are upset about it, and the Empire is starting to show more of its kind of old tendencies. So there have been a lot of, I wrote down, increased incidents of Imperial, quote, law being dealt out to transgressors. So they're starting to kind of put their boot on the stuff now that they've been given a little bit of a free rein into the system. And of course, this has started to piss a lot of people off. But at the same time, there's a large increase in the number of people joining or leaving guilds to join the empire itself. It is very much a torn system right now because this huge attack has kind of shattered the kind of well-meaning, well-being, well-thinking view that this system has. Imperial training and recruitment centers are starting to open up on all the major cities, and the station also has one, though it doesn't have quite as many people, mostly because the station isn't really fully Malibor people. It's got a lot of non-system people who work. If you remember, it's on the very outskirts of the city or of the system. So, however, the station itself has seen a marked decrease in illicit trade as smugglers and such flee the system because they're starting to see the Imperial hand start to take hold, and they are leaving. So just as a word of note, the rarity of items, it's no longer a core world equivalent because smugglers and things are fleeing for everything they're worth right now. So availability of kind of hard to find equipment has gone up. I just had it in front of me here a second ago.
Damn.
Yeah. Right. It's really kind of hovers. It's going to depend, and it's really going to be my call when it gets there between a frontier world and a wild space world. It's gotten basically illicit trade is being hacked out of the system right now because really the station you're on was the focal point for it. And now that the Empire is starting to take hold and they're starting to see Imperial troops marching around the streets and guarding different points, people are starting to leave. So it's going to be harder and harder to buy and sell illicit goods, just so you guys know.
Interesting.
Yep. In system, it's still a little bit okay, but it's a little bit better in system. But if you guys are outside of the Malibor gate, it's going to be harder. It's a strange quinky dink with all this stuff going on. Now, on to the task at hand. So Clayson needs you guys to disappear for a while because there's still a lot of heat on him, and of course on you guys. No, they don't know exactly where you guys are at, but they're still kind of like this. Something doesn't seem right about those three. So he has a task for you guys, and because he doesn't want you just sitting around, because you might, based on past experience, you guys start to get into a lot of trouble when you don't have anything to do.
Really? I blame Jared. I blame Jared for everything.
It's all J-Rod's fault. We met him months ago. So to that end, he has procured papers and a ticket, let's put it that way, transport ticket for all three of you to go in system. You're going to be leaving the station for a little while. Very, very quietly, but you're going to be leaving the station. He needs to get you away from. Yeah, he needs to get you away from where you guys have been doing bad things for a little while.
So we can go do bad things someplace else.
Right. Yeah, that tends to be how it is. So he has you guys booked. Hey, for an hour from now, so you better hoof it. To a ship bound for the Politon dockyards. And for you guys, for frame of reference, if you don't recall, the dockyards are the large, kind of very large, gigantic shipping, what's the word I'm looking for? Outpost that hovers above Malibor 4, which is where the fuel refinery is. So it's it's like a humongous hub for storage, for transport, for everything, because it's what, anything that comes off of Malibor 4 has to go through somewhere, has to be transported somehow. So that's what Politon Dockyards is. It's the big kind of mid-system checkpoint for all this stuff moving around. So that's where he's sending you guys.
This is the place where Mika Harlow told us that slaves were going and cash was coming back from in exchange for the slaves. Is that right?
It was one of the places that you guys discovered while you were digging through the encoded files. He doesn't know specifics. It just shows the transfer of funds. Remember, that's all you guys are really seeing. You can do a basic math to figure out how many slaves were going, but Mika never did that one, put one and one together. He was kind of just purposefully turning a blind eye to it. But that's what he saw. Hey, yes, there's definitely credits being transferred across this, the same as every other location. So that was one of them that you guys found. But he's not sending you for that. He's sending you to the dockyards for a very specific reason. There is a protest plan there by a group of people from the transport and storage guilds. They are planning a very large protest against the Loaders Guild and their affiliation with the Empire. They are kind of malcontents within the children guilds that the Loader Guild took over. So they are both in parentless guilds, for lack of a better way of putting it. And these people are unhappy with that situation and the whole alliance with the Empire. So they are planning a very large protest. They're on the dockyards to do what people like to do, try and stop trade. How do we get attention? We stop money. We stop the money from moving around. So if you recall, the Loaders Guild, all they do is really, load and be the forklift guys, So the Transport Guild, it doesn't move without them, and the Storage Guild are the ones responsible for actually tracking and kind of inventorying the products and merchandise and whatever. So they feel like, hey, if we stop helping you guys, we can at least have people see what's going on and take another look at it. The standard kind of protest idea. So what he wants you guys to do is a protest plan by a group of, I'm trying to read a little bit of this, by the Transport and Loaders or Storage Guild. He wants you guys to use the cover of this event to steal your way into a local Imperial facility that it just so happens to be protesting outside of, and download that facility's supply logs. Okay? His superiors, Clayston's superiors, want an idea of the best they can get, and that's using supply, of an idea of where the supply shipments are going in the system, general quantities, so they can get an idea of like manpower and materials and stuff that are in different locations around the system. So he thinks the best way to do this is to see where their supplies are going. Where are they sending weapons and fuel and rations and that sort of thing? So your task, should you choose to accept it, is to use the cover of the protest to make your way into that Imperial facility and download the information, and of course, hopefully get out alive. And with none the wiser is the best case, but even if they figure it out, as long as you get out with the information, then he considers it a plus.
Okay, so our job is to infiltrate an Imperial facility in the middle of protests, get our hands on some logs, supply logs, and get out without a disaster.
Right, yeah. Without getting captured again, because I'm pretty sure
not our strong suit.
Yeah, I can't really help you guys get captured this time. So that is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Any major questions you would like to ask before your 1 hour ticket?
Sure.
The last
okay, so what does security look like for the facility?
It is an Imperial facility, well guarded. However, the protest is taking place just outside, so it is his every expectation that most of the facility's guards will be outside, making sure that the protest doesn't kind of interfere with that facility's business. The Empire's like, hey, this is a supply facility. It's all about moving supplies in and out. We've got our own people to do this. They don't need the guild to transfer their stuff. So the guards are there to make sure that that continues to happen. So,
okay.
But he's under the expectation that the facility won't be a ghost town, but it won't be as heavily kind of patrolled inside as it normally would, because most of that's going to be outside.
Is it exclusively staffed by Imperial officers and troopers?
As far as he knows, yes. They keep to their own, so there are no Loader Guild, no Storage Guild people inside that he's aware of.
Entrances. How many entrances are there, and where are they?
You've got one. Well, one
large
entrance. You've got one large entrance because it's taking place outside of their. The dockyards are a space station. They're a very gigantic space station, but it's a space station. So imagine, I like to think of it still like a floating pier. So it's just a whole bunch of boats, a whole bunch of ships kind of docked at three-dimensionally around this station. And it has a massive series of shield generators that give it a fake kind kind of atmosphere towards the center of it, but it still has exterior and interior. The way I kind of made it mentally in my head was it became cheaper to create a false atmosphere around this than to provide every single person with a spacesuit. So they said, well, it might be cheaper since we're right over a gigantic fuel refinery to just power a gigantic series of generators to give a false atmosphere, like a giant shield with a, whatever artificial atmosphere, than
Okay,
to
so there's a
provide that.
atmosphere around the space station. Is that what I'm
Not the
getting?
whole station, but for the most part of it. Where you guys would be, yeah, because they're not going to be a bunch of protesters floating out in their spacesuits with
Okay.
boards and cardboard. So they're outside. So what's happened is these guys. The plan for the protest is really across the whole where all the Imperial sections are. So the Empire has facilities on this station. So
Okay.
the one specifically that he's sending you guys to, the exterior of it is still inside that airlock, inside that air space, inside that shield space. So they're outside, kind of rah rah rah, you stupid Imperials, go home, that sort of thing. And the expectation is that that's really the only way into this thing from where you guys are coming from, because you're going to be dumped off into this protest. There's no side entrances because that's all it's built for, is to load and unload stuff. So the expectation is that it's a gigantic hangar door or a series of hangar doors, garage door type things, as the Empire moves around and does its thing. And so it's one gigantic open door, if that's kind of the best way I can describe it. Not just like there's one little man door that you guys have to sneak through to get to. It's really a very large entrance. Let's see how I have
Okay.
it drawn out here. Uh, it's it's probably about 100-meter wide entrance to this thing. So it's a very, very large. It's a very large base too, but it's a very large entrance to it um, as well. So I'm going to say you won't have much difficulty getting in. I know it's a concern in character, but out of character, you guys won't have much difficulty getting in.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
is he giving us any kind of a general layout of the facility?
No, he doesn't know
Interior?
anything. He doesn't know
Okay.
anything about this facility other than he expects that you'll need to find wherever that would be. So some kind of communication room or server room,
Yeah.
control room, or that sort of thing. He
Yeah.
knows it's got to be there because every Imperial base has these things. Um,
Gotcha.
so, but he's like, expect there to be the standard sort of storage rooms, obviously control center. There's probably a barracks for troops, small barracks for troops and guards. There's because these places tend to be self-sustaining,
Yep.
um, other than the storage stuff moving in and out. There's probably bathrooms, kitchen, mess hall, that sort of stuff is all probably there as well. So, um, like I said, it's a self-contained facility there on the station, so they don't have to ask for help from anybody. Is the idea. So, once you're there, you fully expect that they'll probably have at least signage to point you towards things.
Yeah. If we can. If we don't have any information, then we'll obviously have to pick it up on the fly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have a schematic of the inside. That definitely he doesn't
Okay.
have that.
Da, 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 da. I think I'm pretty much set with questions. Uh, what specifically are the grievances of the protesters?
They are generally against the whole imperial thing. These are the group of the people that would be the closest to the rebellion here because they don't want uh, to side with the empire. They don't like being under the control of another guild,
Okay.
um, that
Okay.
sort of thing. They want their
Work with
autonomy.
that.
It's kind of the
Okay.
idea.
Sounds good. I think I am all set to go. Uh,
Yep. I mean, I know that you said it's a mission if you choose to accept it, but I feel like, yeah, heck yeah, we're gonna accept it. We owe Clayson one for sure, and Slashik's on board.
Yeah, well, he's giving you free reign to get to an imperial facility, and you know he only really gave you one mission: get out with the stuff. Whatever that means, he doesn't care. He just wants the
hmm.
information.
Yeah, we'll get it for him.
And with that, he'll leave unless you guys have any other questions, or he'll
what
go back
kind
to
of
the
body
bar.
count would he be cool with?
Well, okay, so I guess this comes down to more your guys' viewpoint on the rebellion. The way he treats things is every Imperial is a bad Imperial, which is why he was a little shocked with Kurt's identity or Kurt's former Imperial thing. So he's not against, obviously, he's not against an Imperial turning, but he probably isn't going to give them very much opportunity. If it was him, if he was in that place, he's probably not going to give them more than one opportunity.
I mean,
to
in terms of like profile of this thing, would it be better if we just not killed anyone? Sorry, Slashik. Or would he like want us to do some damage here?
I'm going to put this back to you guys. Anything that happens is probably going to be put off to the protesters. So, I mean, it comes down to, hey, if anything crazy happens, it's probably going to be written off as the protesters did something crazy. It could have repercussions because if it's bad enough, like if you guys blow this facility sky high, it's going to do damage to the dockyards themselves. Yeah, well, the opportunity is there, I'm sure. So if you do, it's going to do damage to the dockyards, and it's also going to be seen as an even bigger reason why the Empire needs to bring the heel down. So he's leaving it to you guys, but he says, don't blow it up. I know you guys like to blow things up or be around when things blow up, or have places you visited blow up. Like, just try not to blow it up. That's his main kind of. Okay, so there's two goals here. There's two things: get the stuff out and don't blow the station up. So, yeah, because bad things can happen when you're a major fuel depot, especially in space. Like, the last thing, and they have safety. Obviously, they'll have protocols to keep that crazy sort of thing from happening. But you just never know. I could roll really bad and send the station like plummeting into the planet. You never know.
Yeah. All right, I'm good.
Will there be last question? I just thought, with the protesters, is it kind of like a mixed bag of species, or is it like going to be a human fest, like just every single person?
It's Malibor system, so it's probably like 75% human, but there are definitely other species there too. The system's been around long enough to have other species, but it's mostly a human. I mean, that's Star Wars, really, when you boil it down.
So we don't need to disguise Slashik as a human.
Well, that's kind of what I'm.
Because I've been working on something.
Well, also, I'm thinking of. I've been thinking about you too, Phil. I mean, you're a Bothan. I just want to make sure that you and I are.
You're a little more conspicuous than me, though.
Just about anything. Yes, I know. I'm a 7-foot lizard. I get it.
All right.
Right.
All right.
It's all good?
Okay, yeah, so I'm ready.
Anything else? Okay. Oh, he does give you one word of advice. The Malibor Gate. You guys will have to travel through the Malibor Gate. He has supplied you with passports, the equivalent of passports, transport, access, security, that sort of thing to get you through. Make up your own extra names whenever you feel like you need to. And that's what you are, if that makes sense. So he's giving you false names, false identities to get you through. However, he says the security has been stepped up incredibly high. So do not try and take anything illegal through the gate. And that includes anything high yield. I don't know what your crazy swords and things are considered now, because there's no legality scale in here other than my discretion. And it's hard to say, but if you're like a single personal weapon, I would say is okay, because it's Star Wars. Everybody's got a hip holster or that sort of thing. But if you're carrying a full armament of things, or just openly wearing body armor and that sort of stuff, they're probably gonna arrest you and confiscate. So don't go in with the whole.
Would it be Right. Would it be acceptable for me, because my clothing is basically like my padded armor, and I think it looks okay on a.
Oh, no. That padded armor, they're not going to bat an eye at.
Okay.
We don't have anything more intense than that.
Yeah. Padded armor. You guys are mostly okay, but I honestly couldn't remember, and I didn't know how much stuff you guys are going to go crazy and buck wild building.
I've got this thermal detonator.
Right. Yeah,
Exactly.
that sort of thing might be really bad for you. So,
Now you're
but it
not
is very
remembering.
heightened. So anything that would be considered illicit or illegal, you'd best leave
All
behind.
right. Yeah, I think we lost all that
Yeah.
shit.
I think you guys lost most of it, but I wasn't. I wrote that down because I wasn't really sure what you guys were going to be doing with your money post.
All right.
So,
Cool.
given that, what's your read on the slicer gear? Is that going to be illicit?
It depends on how you got it. How hard was it to get? What I don't have what is it a high
That was
rare?
his free item.
Well,
It was.
this was
That's what I
the.
meant. But
that was-
what's the how rare is it? I
Oh,
guess
it's a 4.
normally a
Remember,
4,
Coco.
right?
Yeah. If I go into the book, it says
now
that it's a 4.
Well, no, a 4 would equal like a holdout blaster. I'm just looking at general kind of where it would rank on the stuff. So it's kind of
Okay.
around the blaster pistol level. But is it actually quote unquote a slicer kit? So is it like carrying a bag of lock picks, like a lock pick set?
Well, it would be like a laptop that's been, I'll say, customized.
Yeah, see, they're not going to notice that sort of thing. But if it was like a set of lock picks, yeah, you better leave it at
Okay.
home. But if it's just
All
like
right, no.
it's a personal data pad that you've
Yeah.
hot wired and done crazy things to, no, they're not. They're not even
Okay.
going to notice.
Well,
Or
what
they
is
probably
the
won't notice.
what does the slicer tool description actually say? Because I know
Right,
it's like a
that's what I was
laptop, but is it something that, like, for instance, TSA would easily identify as like, oh, are you a hacker, kind of a thing, like in the Star Wars universe? Is there any big?
Probably just looks like a data pad. I mean,
Well, okay. Here, there's a pretty good sentence in here. It
What
says,
page is it on?
I'm looking at page 195.
That's close.
Read it out loud.
Yeah, use specially constructed gear to gain access to secure computer systems. Most are home built from custom components and are illegal to greater or lesser degrees.
Yeah,
These
you definitely
powerful
want to leave that at home.
Okay, all right.
Leave that one at home. But it does say it's a personal computer. I get the imagine that it's or the idea that it's probably more of a home kit. Like I guess it can be carried around, but
It's got an encumbrance of 2, so I figured it's got to be somewhat portable. But I can certainly see how maybe you start off with a laptop, but you wind up making modifications to it to where there would be the possibility to where someone just looking at it would go, oh, okay, that's been decked out.
Right.
So yeah, we'll leave it behind. That's fine.
I'm trying to get an idea here. This is where you get into the vagaries of the system of like, what does an encumbrance 2 equal? Small
Probably like a
items such as
suitcase or
data
something.
pads, most pistols or knives have an encumbrance value of 1 or 2.
It's probably like a little, almost like not a satchel, but like a briefcase that he could carry his slicer tools in or something. I don't know. Maybe
Medium items such as blaster rifles, a satchel of thermal detonators, or a grappling hook and cord have an encumbrance of 3 or 4. Like, what? But they used grappling hooks in episode 1, and it just fit on the end of a pistol. That was an encumbrance 3 item. Large or heavy items such as cargo crates, repeating blaster rifles, or heavy toolbox are valued at 5 or 6. Huh.
Well,
All right,
that means two does not sound that much. Then,
no,
honestly.
no, it doesn't. But it's not concealable because I think it said 1s were considered.
Yeah,
like,
1
highly
is concealable.
So, I mean, you could try and conceal it, but it's not like immediately easy.
Or heck, maybe they'd let you check it. Would they let you, or not check it, but put it in the cargo bay or something? So you don't have access to it.
this isn't a like cargo, like we're afraid you're going to blow the plane up sort of thing. This is we don't want it in the system security check.
Ha, gotcha.
Yeah, we don't want you bringing these sorts of things. Clayson would recommend leaving it at home just for safekeeping, just because you never know. It might be that most of the guards they have there are idiots and wouldn't recognize it, but you might run into that one guy, i.e. you might roll bad, and that recognizes what it is. Like, hey, this looks a lot like a modified XG-1073, blah, 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 and arrest him just in case.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so.
The only other thing I think what I'd like to throw out is I'm going to splurge and I'm going to buy everybody a new comlink. before. We'll stop at Com Shack on the way to wherever it is we got to go. To Com Shack, yeah. And I'll
hi,
get
Kurt,
everybody
you're
in
back again. How's that computer going? Oh, it's going well. Can I get 3 of these? Is it Sith tails?
More
Can I get 3 of
capacitors.
these Sith tail comm links? That's so funny.
Sith Mobile.
Sith mobile, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
Well, that's mighty generous of you. Thank you,
yeah.
Kurt.
How much do
Oh,
comm
yeah,
links
you're
cost?
welcome.
Like 1 credit
They're
or
25.
25
credits.
each.
wow? Oh, these are good comm links. They have really good data plans, I guess. So
Yeah, we're on
okay.
the friends and family plan right now.
Right, yeah. Free call, free person to person.
Excuse me.
Oh, I guess species to species.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys make your way to the, I guess, transport location that is on your ticket to the sector where this transport happens to be leaving from. When you get there, it's not massively crowded, but it is a freighter that you're getting on. It's just an old generico simple freighter. I didn't bother putting down a name, but you hand over your ticket to the person, which is it's not like a plane ticket. It's just like a voucher, like the guy's giving you a credit. Yeah, you paid sort of thing. And when you get inside, it's a modified freighter. So it looks like it's been kind of tooled to carry both cargo and people, separated into different compartments. So it's not just a people carrier. It's really cargo with people if they want to ride along, sort of thing. When you get on, it looks like the thing could probably hold 20 people on it. It's not, like I said, not spacious, but it's probably 20 people, and they're not like individual chairs. It's just kind of benches kind of along the walls. It's very haphazard, very ramshackle interior for people because it was just a modified freighter. And inside, besides you guys, there's probably half a dozen other passengers, say 7 or 8 other passengers in there. Most of them are kind of keeping to themselves. There's a group of like 3 or 4 of them who are look like not only they know each other, but they probably work together because they're all kind of talking and they're all wearing similar garb, similar like workmen's uniforms. Kurt, give me make it an easy knowledge check just for giggles, just to see if you're on your game tonight.
Okay.
Oh, and everybody needs to roll their
Destiny?
their destiny dice too. I forgot about that.
All right. No, that's what I wanted. Come on. There it is.
I got 1 dark side.
2 light side.
Oh, I got 2 dark.
Okay.
We never use these anyway.
Oops.
Oh.
Okay. Easy knowledge. I have 1 success, 2 advantage.
You recognize them as Transport Guild. The uniforms look very much like kind of Transport Guild, kind of stock uniforms, or what you would expect them to wear a lot of times for inner system, like inside the system members. And they're kind of just discussing the protest, really, is what's going on. And you kind of see like a pile of stuff over in the corner once you kind of eyeball this. Like, hey, wait a minute, those guys look like Transport Guild guys. You see a pile of kind of the placard stuff over in the corner. Like they've put down their, I don't know if it'd be wood, but the plastic.
Their signage.
Their signage stuff. I don't even know what you'd use in the Star Wars universe, honestly. Do they have paper?
No, not really.
They probably just hold up data pads with holovids to their sign, and they would just dance around all over the place.
Yeah,
Spin, blink.
they've got buckets of paint that looks like maybe they're prepared to like paint their chests with. You're not really sure what they're doing. So they'll be discussing the protest. Nothing crazy. And for the most part, it's an uneventful trip. When you get to the gate, however, to the Malibu gate, and it's a long trip. This is not like a 1 hour in system. This is a heavy hauler, and it is not trucking real hard. It is just kind of plodding along through. So it's a few hours. I know it doesn't seem like a long trip, but it's a few hours for Star Wars in Star Wars world to go from the station that you guys are at to the gate. And you spend quite a long time at the gate. They check through, I guess security checks through all of the crates. You can basically they get boarded. The thing gets boarded, and they go with I guess not the pilot, but like the first mate, the equivalent of the first mate on the ship, and check all of the cargo. I mean, you can hear them in that area, in that storage area. What it sounds like they're opening things. That they're actually opening crates and looking through things. When they finish with that, there's a couple of them that actually went with him. A couple of them come in to the crew, or not the crew compartment, the passenger compartment, and they start going through everybody there. And you guys are not first in line. You watch as they do your standard kind of full body pat down, and not like a cheap Hollywood one, but like the full out, just in case. They don't leave very much to the imagination as they check around for things. None of these guys are carrying anything crazy. At least none of the four, what did I say, 3 or 4 guys that are from the Transport Guild. None of them are carrying anything crazy. They're just in overhauls. They got your standard kind of pocket knife and random garbage like that. Nothing that looks funny. They come over to you guys. Unless you guys want to do something, they'll check y'all over as well. And if y'all have anything to say, they are Imperial, just so you know. But if y'all don't say anything, they'll make their way through. And since we know you're not carrying anything illicit, they'll make a note of the guns, but they're not gonna take them away from you. But y'all
I'll just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, y'all were prepared for that. So,
Yeah. Okay.
Had you not been, things might have happened weird. Had you been carrying a disguise kit, for example, things might have gone poorly. And you're just thinking to yourself, man, I'm glad I lost that disguise kit. When the guy behind you, because they've passed over you, when one of the other guys, they patting him down and they find a bag of, I'm just going to say spice, since I'm not sure what it is, something illegal. And he gets the rough treatment. There is no what is it? What's the best way I could put it? He goes full, don't tase me, bro. Kind of like, don't tase me. And they go to work on him. I mean, they drag him down. He gets some boots, and nightsticks, and he gets dragged off the shuttle. And everybody, you can see the 4 guys who were the Transport Guild guys who were talking about this. You can see all of them kind of gritting their teeth and kind of grinding their hands together because they do not like what they just saw. When the trip continues, because everybody's kind of stunned, they're like, okay, wow, that was definitely not a good thing. No one really talks about it unless you guys really want to, but the shuttle continues on, and those guys become like, you can tell like their blood's up now. Those 4 guys.
I think I actually do want to talk to them.
Okay. Feel free.
Damn Imperials. They just come out of nowhere. Think they can run the place, right?
Yeah, you're telling me. These guys freaking, I don't know what the hell they're up to, but I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Yeah, you tell them, George. You tell them. I'm just making names up now. Okay, just saying. I didn't write any of these guys down.
Malibor was doing fine. Malibor was doing just fine before they got here.
Hell yeah, man. That's not the first time I've seen that. I mean, that happens all the damn time now. All the time.
They don't give a damn about us.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we're going there. You going to the protest too? Because that's where we're going.
Damn right
we're
we
gonna
are.
Show these Imperials that we're still, we're still somebody, that just because some freaking band of gang or whatever of terrorists decided to kill our freaking, leader, that we're
doesn't give them the right to come here and take us over.
Right. And it doesn't give that piece of snake in the grass. I don't know if snakes exist, whatever. That XYZ in the grass, Fiend Dalen, doesn't give him the right to just throw away our sovereignty, if I can say that. Doesn't give him the right to just throw away our, our freedoms and what we've worked for all these years. And he's rah, 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 and his buddies are, you tell him, man, you tell him, that's right. And he'll go on if you want him to, but otherwise he's you can tell.
Yeah.
So you guys going to this protest? You better be, because if you want to keep this system free, that's the only chance we got, is to show them that we're still powerful.
Damn straight. Got to show those Imperials what really matters in this system.
That's right. I hope something
see you
big
there, brother.
happens. We'll show them. We'll show them. Just a few hours, and they'll see.
That's right.
He goes
Together
over
we're strong.
He goes over and starts really working over his sign.
Okay, great.
The
marker.
The bucket of paint or whatever.
I'm gonna add some glitter.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I'm putting another sign on the back. Turn it around and really show them. So it'll continue on. Still not a lot. Obviously, not a lot of chatter and stuff on the ship, and you guys make your way to the dockyards. It arrives, and you can, as you're pulling into station, as you're pulling, kind of doing the circle around to find your dock, you can already see, small, because it is a very big dock. You can see what looks like, small groups of people. Rah, 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 lights are flashing and that sort of thing. And one of the guys is like, where are we supposed to go? Like, where exactly? Which one of these are we going for? And he said, well, the biggest one's supposed to be over at I didn't name the base, but over at the base where you guys are headed. It's supposed to be out in front of, so and so installation. That's where the big one's at. That's where the big rally's going to be. So all these other ones, those are just little ones to kind of, show them that we're everywhere. But the big one's going to be at, XYZ installation, that Imperial installation over there.
Facility 15. That's where we're headed to.
Yeah, that's good. We need more people, the better. So as you get closer to your kind of your stop, you'll swing around past this, and it is a very, very large thing. You probably say 400 or 500 people are outside of this thing, kind of rah protesting. It's a ton of people, and it's a big base, and you see what looks like 20 or so stormtroopers out front of the base itself, just kind of keeping an eye on them, making sure that they stay back. The blasters aren't drawn; they're just kind of standing guard in front of a very, very large open hangar door. I guess it'd be a very open entrance to their hangar. So you guys will land, and unless y'all say otherwise, just let me know. Would follow these other 4 guys, as they make their way to the thing.
Yeah, I think we should essentially join the crowd.
Right, and it's not hard. Not everybody on the flight was headed there. Some of them, kind of avert their eyes and head the other direction. But those 4 guys are, and a couple other ones you see go with you, just other random people on the ship, and you make your way over to the protest. And it's as I described, giant protest, lots of people, rah, 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 no real kind of, there's no real purpose, if that makes, like, there's no, like, what do we want? Imperial's gone. When do we want it now? Like, none of that. No silly chanting or anything like that yet that you've seen. But you guys arrive, and just kind of make your way into the pile as far as you want to. And you don't have to go into the middle. You could skirt the edges. You can do whatever you want to. But this group of protesters is across the entire front of this, and they're probably, call it 20 feet away from the stormtroopers, which are probably another 20 feet or so from the front of the base. So they're in front of the.
How many stormtroopers?
About 20 of them.
How many people? How many protesters?
Like 400 or 500. It's
Okay.
a huge amount.
Cool. So, I mean, as we're entering this group, I'm going to be, pulling people aside and saying, "These Imperials, they shot my brother in the street like a dog. They didn't even read him his rights. There's not so many of them." I'm just going to be spreading that story
You're
throughout
inciting
the
people. I see what you're doing.
yeah. I'm gonna be riling people up.
Is there a
That's
skill
yeah.
in here for incitement?
I'm trying to look around and see what would be the most appropriate for that.
It's probably a leadership thing. Swaying a crowd
let me
over
look
to your cause. Leadership.
Okay.
So make it we'll do this. This will be fun. I didn't see that in there, but it's a good idea. Let's start you out at 4 dice. I mean, it's a large group of people, so they can't really all hear you. So let's make it a 4 die and see how you do.
Okay.
Hey, you never know.
4 dice
It's a
leadership.
large group of kind of uncoordinated people right now.
Okay.
You never know.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, I do fail at that. I came pretty close, but
How bad was it?
just one failure.
Just one failure.
Yeah.
Well, you get a lot of people say, "Heck yeah, man, that's right. Yeah, man, I can't wait till so and so." They just name some random person. I'm not going to give you a name. I can't wait till George talks, and you're like, "Wait, George? I think I met that guy." If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to help us continue improving and expanding our channel's content.